Brockton Bay certainly has its share of parahuman-centered and/or led groups. Unfortunately, most of those groups lean more heavily towards the illegal and questionable side of affairs. The Azn Bad Boys, ABB for short, is one such organization formed around a monolithic individual known as Lung. Despite only having 2 parahumans for much of its existence, later 3, this pan-Asiatic gang dealing in theft, sex slavery, and numerous other illicit activities is capable of directly opposing the other gangs and heroes, despite having a comparatively inferior amount of parahumans. Evidently, by many respects, the ABB's position in Brockton Bay, despite the parahuman deficit, is maintained and ensured by their leader, the aforementioned Lung. At first, one may be a bit doubtful of that fact. After all, regardless of his official status as a high-rated brute and blaster, and somewhat unofficial statuses of changer and mover, it is difficult to imagine one person holding so much weight in the power balance of the city. Well, as the saying goes, the devil is in the details. On the brute side of affairs, Lung exhibits enhanced strength, resilience, generally better physique, and perhaps most importantly, rapid regeneration. As far as his blaster status goes, that is derived from his pyrokinetic abilities. Now, while all that sounds impressive, it still does not explain the skewed power dynamics between the ABB and the rest of the relevant groups based in Brockton Bay. Here is where Lung's somewhat unofficial mover and more importantly changer status comes into play. A key thing to note about Lung is that he is a foe that thrives in combat. When Lung engages in or anticipates combat, he begins a transformation process that makes him more dragon-like. And with that process, his capabilities and powers scale up relative to how much of the mentioned process has progressed. The beginning stages are fairly simple. Lung's general physical abilities can increase. He begins to grow silver protective skills that enhance his durability, and he regenerates faster. Along with the latter, his pyrokinetic abilities go from more point-blank fire in his palms to being capable of hurling fireballs in addition to generating fire explosions. As his transformation progresses, his opponents will find themselves in more dire straits. Not only will Lung's physical and regenerative capabilities continue to grow, his flames will become hotter and more intense, and the explosions he generates will also ramp up in scale. Past a certain point, Lung will begin to physically change more rapidly and more significantly. The silver scales will grow thicker and become layered, his body will contort and grow taller, and he will eventually grow bat-like wings from his back, giving him better speed and maneuverability. Additionally, he will become capable of perpetually wreathing himself in flames. Should his adversary or adversaries be particularly resilient and powerful themselves, he can eventually reach more than 9 meters / 30 feet tall and have 2 pairs of wings. More so, his flames would eventually be capable of melting steel and sand on contact. Truly, with all that information, it is clear to see why the ABB can maintain its position, especially when considering the fact that Lung really doesn't have an upper limit to his powers. So, how would one go about engaging Lung? Obviously, if it's pure survival, then running away is likely to be the safest and most practical thing to do. Doubly so if a parahuman's power is particularly helpful in that endeavor. Though that is a bit boring, so we'll move on. One general strategy against Lung is taking him out before he has a chance to power himself up. Using drugs and toxins is one possible avenue to accomplish that. While Lung's regeneration does give him some resistance to the latter, it can be overpowered in the earlier stages of his transformation if there is enough flooded into his system, and or if said drugs / toxins are potent enough. In that same vein, one could also kill him while he is in his base state, though bear in mind even after losing an arm one time, he was still able to recover after a month. So someone better be certain they got him if they do try to go that route. However, when it more specifically relates to parahumans, I have 2 broad categories of people that could theoretically win against Lung. The first group involves parahumans with powers that can counter, subvert, or suppress Lung's powers in one way or another. Not to go into too much detail here, but some parahumans that could fall into that category are Clock Blocker, Flechette, Hatchet Face, Grey Boy, and numerous others that would take a while to go through. The second group involves parahumans that may be able to outlast and or overpower Lung. Some parahumans that fall into this category could include Alexandria, Legend, Sundancer, and perhaps Hookwolf and Crawler. Note that parahumans could fall into both categories and that for most other people, let alone parahumans, it is probably better to run and hide as previously stated. Though I will note that while it likely won't delay him for long, or at all, Lung does have enhanced hearing as another byproduct of his power, so one could potentially momentarily stun him through that. But I would not bet on it. Before moving on, I'll mention that in some cruel irony that Lung transforms faster when faced with stronger and or more numerous foes. So, in trying to overpower Long through straight power or numbers, he'll get stronger faster. How amusing. Well then, on to Oni Lee, one of Lung's lieutenants. By comparison, his power is very straightforward. He has a mover power revolving around line of sight teleportation, though there is an extra wrinkle to that ability. When he teleports, he leaves behind a duplicate of himself that can act on its own for several seconds before it dissolves into white ash. And due to the latter, it is presumed that there may be a master aspect to his power, but to what extent and whether it actually exists is unconfirmed. Also compared to Long, counteracting Oni Lee is fairly simple. Since he needs to see where he teleports, viable strategies include restricting what he can see, blocking his view, or outright blinding him. Along with the latter methods, those combating Oni Lee can also take advantage of an aspect of his power relating to the fact that he teleports anything on him with him. So, even if he does teleport away, if one can restrain him with something beforehand, then he will still be restrained at his new location. I suppose one can also take advantage of his standard human durability, but realize even on his own he is a dangerous combatant. Especially when paired with Bakuda, who can give him bombs to commit suicide bombings. And, with that being said, Bakuda is the Tinker Parahuman Lieutenant of the ABB specializing in bombs or more generally explosives. Though, stating that she can make bombs does not convey how versatile she can be. Yes, she's capable of building an EMP bomb, and even bombs with a yield of 9,000 kilotons. But she can also build pain bombs, ice bombs, transmutation bombs, and many other types of bombs with unorthodox outcomes. More so, like most other Tinkers, she is capable of building and crafting things outside of her preferred niche specialty. When it comes to engaging her, it's best to surprise her and or take her out before she has a chance to react/retaliate. One does not want to take a gamble with her bombs, so it's best to cut off her ability to use them. I suppose someone could try to take advantage of her theatrics, temper, and ego, but that's more likely to backfire. Anyway, that's about all I have to say, so bye.